Good morning. Welcome to Simply Remarkable. Happy Fun Friday. We are ready to have a great time today. And our topic is one that everyone's talking about. We're going to learn some insight strategies and tips on what is driving our speaker industry today and how to be a bookable speaker. I am so excited. Let's go. Greetings to our live audience joining us here on LinkedIn, X, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. We welcome your comments in the chat. We will be glad to handle anything. We're just so glad you're here and we're ready to get started. And we love this weekly conversation with you so that you can learn more about what we do as well as information for you. Now, today's featured guest is Melissa Spencer. Now, she's a speaker manager and agent and owner of Spencer's Consulting. With over 25 years experience, Melissa is a trusted speaking industry expert who goes the extra mile to ensure speakers and event professionals have the best experience possible. And she can deliver that. Thank you so much. Welcome, Melissa. We're so glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. And where are you coming to us from?
I'm so excited to be with you today, Sue. I am coming to you from fabulous Las Vegas.
Oh, the booking capital of the world. All right. We are ready to hear. We are ready to hear. Now, this time goes by so fast, Melissa. So we're just going to jump in and get started. Is that okay?
That works for me. Let's do this.
Great. Don't you love her necklace? Look, she said that's her signature. I said, I love it. Don't we all love it?
Thank you.
Hey, Debbie, good to see you. Fabulous Friday. Yes, we are, Debbie. Great. Now, Melissa, tell us, how did you get into the speaking industry and create your business focused on speaker management? How'd that happen?
Oh, it's a long story, but I'll give you the very short version.
All right.
I left corporate America to start a VA business back when nobody knew what a VA was. And the very first client I signed was a speaker that is very well known in the industry. He and I worked together for 15 years, just building something amazing. And in 2019, I was like, I want to do this for other people. So I started my speaker management business. My timing was a little bad, but I did kick it off in 2019 and still kicking it here today.
Wow, it's a story. It started with a speaker.
It started.
I love it.
No, I don't think anybody as a child says, I want to grow up and be a speaker bureau agent or a speaker manager. We all kind of fall into this in a convoluted way. But then once we get in this industry, it is so amazing and so much fun, and every day is different that it just keeps you going.
That's it. That's it. That's why we love it to stay, right?
Absolutely.
No matter what. Now, tell us, Melissa, what are the biggest changes that you witnessed in the speaking industry over your journey? And what do you think is driving what we see as a transformation in the industry today?
I think we're seeing a lot of changes in how planners find speakers. Because we have so many tools at our disposal now that the speaker website is not necessarily what's driving how they find speakers. Social media has a huge impact on that, especially putting shorts out on Instagram or LinkedIn or wherever so people can see a little bit about who you are and what you speak on. I also think that there are much shorter lead times for booking speakers. And I also think we have a really noisy marketplace. A lot of people think that they're speakers and they don't have the talent and they don't have the credibility to back that up. So it's a noisy marketplace.
Yes, that's what we're finding. I hear that all the time. So, we know that it's pretty true then.
But
Now,
so that's also why it's so important that planners work with people like you and I, and trusted bureaus, trusted speaker managers who have vetted the speakers and know what they're offering to the marketplace.
right, exactly. And we have to build that so that
Yes.
they will be, totally tuned in, that we do have some things that they could use. Now, how has your role of speaker manager evolved, especially after COVID? Because you got into it right at that
I
point.
got
But
into it
now
right.
since COVID, how do you see it evolving?
Every speaker management business is a little bit different. We do similar things, but then some of us do more than others, and it really just kind of depends on what the speaker needs in their business as a support system. Um, I have worked from home for 25 years now, and so when COVID hit, it wasn't new to me like it was for most people. And so that transition was easy to move. And the speakers that I booked, that I signed during that that period, we all did virtual and we all excelled at it. So it was fabulous.
That's great. That's great, because you're right. I was the same way.
Yeah.
I started my business remotely,
Right.
and so, we just pivoted. It wasn't that hard. Now, tell us, what strategies are you seeing that the most successful speakers out there are using today that maybe wasn't common 5 to 10 years ago?
I'm going to go back to this one. It's social media. You have to have a presence. You have to show yourself as the expert. You have to put your best thinking forward, and let people know what you stand for and where you excel. I feel like that, again, going back to, planners are not going to websites necessarily. They're finding people. They're standing in the grocery store aisle, right? Waiting to check out, and they're scrolling Instagram and they see something interesting. And then they'll go to the website, or they'll go to LinkedIn, or they'll go to other places to confirm that what they see is the real deal. So I think social media is an incredible platform for getting your thought leadership and your expertise out there in front of people.
I totally agree. And you yourself have to be on social media to
Right.
show what you can help and do. And you do that very well. And so that's how I find people, and you're right, Debbie. There's so many more options out there, and that than there's ever been. So thank you. Thank you. Now, what do you see is the biggest mistake that speakers are making today when they want to try and grow their business?
I think there are a couple of really big mistakes. Number one, trying to be all things to all people. You need to know what you're good at. You need to know who your target market and audience is, and sell. Well, I don't want to say sell, but speak to that audience. Many speakers come into this business and they think, my message is so amazing, everybody needs to hear it. And that's not going to niche you to the point where you're chosen because you're the expert. I also think that video is terribly important, and a lot of speakers don't take the time or make the investment in getting good quality video, because anybody can make a snazzy speaker reel, but clients today, they want to see more, and you better have something good to show them.
Exactly. Because that realm have just exploded. And that's why we see, all kinds of it out there. And, I certainly agree that video is key. It's key.
It is.
And you're right. It's kind of like speakers need to know their lane today. I mean, that's an old-fashioned term from my days, way back when, but that was kind of it for anyone. you need to know, you can't be an expert at everything.
Right.
And so you have to know, what your actual thing is. And it's the same thing for authors. Books are not, when you author a book, it's not for everyone either. You need to know who you're writing it to. And that's where, it's the same thing in speaking. Don't you agree?
I do agree. And there was one other thing I want to mention. I think you need to know as a speaker what your audience's pain points are, what their challenges are, because that's what they're looking to solve. Now, I am getting some requests lately for, I just want you to come in and motivate my team. I want you to come in and inspire them and make them happy and make them want to go out and, change the world. But typically it's like, I need someone to come in and address this specific issue with my leadership team or with my team members. And so you really need to dial in on what the target market you're addressing is dealing with today.
Exactly. And I've had event planners, they kind of know what they're looking for, but they don't have a lot. So you need to ask a lot of questions to make sure that I have to make sure that I match with the right speaker that they would want, so you have to develop that sometimes, because event planners today are so busy, aren't they? And they just get
they're so busy.
Okay, we're going to do this. And so that's how we have to roll, right?
Well,
and
they are so busy. And that's what makes people like you and I and others who do what we do in this industry so very important, because we can handle all those details and make the life easier for that event planner.
Exactly.
And let the speaker go out and focus on their content and focus on their stage presence and just bring their best to that client experience, and let us handle all those details.
Just like one of my speakers has a book out and says, and it's true, David Avron, we have to be ridiculously easy to do business with.
That is
coin that phrase, and that's the whole capture to me is, we got to be just like you and I have to be easy. Our speakers have to be easy.
Yeah, the days of I only want green M&Ms in the green room are over. You need to be easy to work with.
Exactly. Now, tell us, this is a kind of controversial one, and tell us, how do you feel? Do you feel that virtual present is here to stay? And should speakers be seizing those opportunities today?
Absolutely, virtual is never going to go away now. There are too many. A couple of my speakers do a lot of virtual experiences. The budgets aren't there in many cases to bring a speaker in, and all the things that go with travel and setting up a meeting room and all of those expenses, because there are so many different types of meetings. And sometimes it's just a small group of 15 or 20 people, and you can't justify the expense of a meeting space and an in-person speaker, and you just need that time with those people. And so virtual is never going to go away.
I totally agree. And my goal this year is we want to be this virtual speaker bureau of the world, because we have some excellent people that this is what they do a lot. And some speakers are even honestly saying, hey, I'm going to book and promote myself as bringing a virtual experience. And you just brought up something that I love. And I said, if we can get enough to coin it, then maybe people will get it. Because the speaker today has to create an experience. That's what they do. That's what speakers are to do. Create an experience that solves a solution and that brings a solution. So I love saying that, you're a speaker, but you create an experience. And you have to know that you don't give a talk, you don't give a presentation, you don't give a lecture, you don't do that. You're there to create an experience that's memorable, and the people will practice. Yes. They will use your information. So thank you for bringing that up, because that's another thing. I think we can change the industry if we change our thinking and mindset of a speaker saying, what are you here for?
The audiences of today no longer want to sit in a room for an extended period of time and listen to a talking head. They want, to your point, an experience. They want something that excites them. They want something that entertains them and educates them. They want to be able to walk out of that room and do something with the information they received. I would also say that the length of presentations has shortened because social media has shortened our attention spans, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so nobody wants to sit in a room for 90 minutes. You know, they just 45 minutes is good. Let me get up and, go get a cup of coffee. So
I recently had one said, can you do it in 25 minutes?
yeah,
And I'm like, well, we're on speed dial and we certainly can.
that's right.
So that means speakers have to choose the words carefully and have
Yes.
to choose things carefully.
Well, and
They can't add because you don't want to, you have to keep the time frame because they got a schedule.
I think that, it's so important for speakers, excuse me, to practice their presentations in different time frames. Because, it may be that the client requested a 60-minute keynote, but the person before them went on 30 minutes too long. So now you've got to tighten up your presentation and do it in 30 minutes in order to stay on time and on target. So always be practicing what it is you're delivering within different time frames so that you're prepared for that when it happens.
I totally agree because I recently had that. A speaker, was there and he prepared 45 minutes and the president of the company overran their time. So the event planner is hurriedly saying, can you cut this to 30, maybe less?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, sure. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad you could do that. And he did. He just took things out and did great. And I got a great review. So, and was pointed out that he was willing to do that. I mean, that was key. That was key. So that really matters. Practice matters.
Well,
Just
and he just made that
we have 30 minutes and I have to make sure we don't go over 30 minutes.
Right. And he just made that event planner's life so much easier and took so much stress off of her by being able to deliver that way.
Exactly. And she, rewarded him for that. That's it. Now, tell us, what are 3 specific actions that a speaker could take tomorrow to improve their bookings?
3 specific actions.
You can tell this is not rehearsed. We don't rehearse this.
No.
And I get the questions. I solicit from my influence teams that what they'd like to hear. So I don't even make up these myself either. I just want to tell everybody that.
Nothing like putting me on the spot like that. So 3 specific actions. I would say be always building your relationships with people. Continue to connect even if a client didn't book you, because you may not have been the right fit that year for their theme, but you may be next year or the year after that. There's a speaker coming onto my roster shortly that is so good at that. We pitched him 3 years ago to an organization. Because he stayed in touch, they booked him for next year. So, build those relationships and keep those connections going. If you're not on social media, be on social media. Start using video, and depending on which LinkedIn expert you talk to, sometimes it's long form verbiage, and stories. Other times it's newsletters. Find out what your target market audience is looking for and how they want to receive information, and do that. So, that's a lot of intel that you, as a speaker, you need to start trying to focus on. And then thirdly, I would say up your video game. Really be always, I tell my speakers all the time, if the client is not recording your presentation, then hire someone to do it for you so that you always have new content to share with your audiences.
Exactly. And a lot of people say, well, that's hard. Sometimes they won't let us do it and all like this. I said, you do it the right way and they will.
Yeah.
and for what it is. And so those are great. That's great, because if you're not doing that, if you're not in the social media game, and if you're not in the video game, then it's really hard for both of us to face clients and say we can show something, because we have nothing.
No, exactly.
It's really hard. It's really
Yes.
hard. Yeah.
And then you can't be showing the same video from 10, 15, 20 years ago. You better have something new, because if I'm sharing your video from 10 years ago, what are you doing today? How has your message evolved to address the needs of the audience today? Because the needs today are far different from what they were
Exactly.
5 years ago. So.
And Debbie brought up a great point here. I love it. Thank you, Debbie, for coming on, because you give us inspiration for more questions, which is great. Like Debbie said, let them know why you.
Exactly.
And that's what video does. That's what social media does. Sets you apart.
And there's so many tools out there now that you can take your 45-minute keynote presentation and pull out a 90-second snippet of you delivering a key point and using that across all platforms so that people get to see you. Because the visibility on these social media platforms, it's not your followers are not seeing your content. So you need to be delivering and sharing and resharing all the time.
Exactly, because they need to know, and like I said, we were talking earlier, it's hard to book someone if you're not out there consistently booking yourself and also being on social media and video, because it's hard for us to sell someone that they can't find that.
Right.
And we don't have that to share. I mean, I've told speakers that a lot, because I get a lot of requests to join our bureau, and I have to, sit down and say, okay, but here's the what we see. So thanks for sharing that, because that's key. That's key.
Yeah. And, in my role as a speaker manager, you don't need me if you don't have a business for me to manage. So you need to be booking yourself, so that to the point that you need someone to handle the details, because you're so busy working on your content and building your relationships. And if you don't have a business, then you don't have anything for me to manage.
Now, do you see today, though, that we see a lot of speakers that have multiple roles, not just keynote speaking, but, they're authoring best-selling books, which is great, but they're also being a speaker coach or, all these others. Does that affect bookings?
I don't know that it affects bookings. I think COVID taught everyone that you need to have multiple streams of income. And if, as it did in March of 2020, when the world shuts down for getting on stages, you better have a way to still continue to have a business and make a living. And so that's why I think you see so many speakers doing other things, consulting, coaching, etc. I also feel like, though, that there are some people out there who couldn't really make it as a speaker, so now they're going to be a speaker coach. So I really encourage, before you make an investment as a speaker in somebody else to teach you how to do this business, that you talk to trusted confidants, that you talk to people who have been doing it for a while from all different perspectives, other speakers, managers, bureau agents such as yourself, because there are a lot of wannabe speaker coaches out there who really don't know the business. Now, on the other hand, there are some outstanding people out there, but just, do your due diligence before you make those kinds of investments.
Right. And of course, here at our bureau, we don't just book the keynotes. If they are experts at executive coaching, we book that. If they're experts at corporate training, we book that. If they're experts at business consultants, we book that. Because we've learned, that, hey, the whole package is, and then some of that they do that, then it leads to keynotes. It doesn't have to start. So we've made that advantage.
It works both ways.
Clients.
Yeah, it works both ways. The keynote can lead to consulting coaching business. the coaching consulting business can lead to keynotes. So it's kind of just the whole ball of wax, if you will. You've got to just have that whole machine working.
Exactly. And you've got to make sure that, just like we've been talking about booking a keynote, if you're doing these other things too, they have to be linked and the same way. They have to be able to see that you're that expert for them. So thank you so much for sharing that, because these are things that come up, and we want to make sure people know that they are out there. Now,
well, you don't want to be a wellness coach, but then say you're a leadership keynote speaker. So really going back to picking your lane and knowing what you're good at.
Exactly. That's it. Message today is make sure you're in the right lane and pick it wisely. Make sure you're the expert, that they can see that. Now, Melissa, our time flies, but let me ask you this. What are you going to do today to be remarkable?
Oh my goodness. I have 2 kids at home who came to live with me 2 years ago. And my goal in life is to make life remarkable for them all the time and make sure that they have an outstanding experience and grow up to be productive human beings. So my focus is to help make them remarkable.
Wow, that's awesome that you can have, but your career fits right in that.
Yes.
That's the deal that you can do and have that time to spend with them. So thank you for sharing that. And is there anything else that you would like to share today with our audience?
I'm just very thankful, Sue, that you invited me to do this with you today. It's been so much fun.
I've learned a lot, and we're kind of all in this industry that we want to learn from each other, because it's not she's sharing secrets, but we like that, because we want to know, we want to see the big picture, because sometimes we can get off track too. So we want to keep ourselves doing that. And I want to ask our audience out there, what are you going to do today to be remarkable? Event planners, speakers, did you see and hear anything today that you would like to implement? You never know. We would like to know, though. Leave it as a comment, or you can contact me everywhere on social media. So we'd love to know. We'd love to know how this show impacts people. That's the key thing here. We don't just do this for ourselves. We want to be able to bring from Remarkable Speakers Bureau the best information to you and the help that you may need. And of course, our tagline says, let's be remarkable together. Yes, that's what I would love to be. And you just contact us, and we want to be there for you. And Melissa, I just thank you so much for being here today, that you just took the time to do this, and at the last minute too. And I wish for you a wonderful rest of 2025 and much success in helping those speakers of today and our event planners be the best they can be for their clients and their audiences, because we bring that to you. Now, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I love what I get to do every day. When I wake up in the morning and walk into my bright, sunny office, I love what I do. And like I said, that's what we want to do, is help be remarkable to other people as well. Now, I will not be amiss if I will not continue to do this. I want to ask you to still pray and support those who are recovering from the devastating effects of the recent Texas and North Carolina floods. We're still in North Carolina working on from Hurricane Helene. There's still much to do. And the California fires, there's much to do. There's many people that are affected by all these disasters. And it's going to be a long-term recovery for them. And we can't forget them. We can't forget to support and do all we can to help them, because even though the world may have forgotten them, the news may have forgotten them, we haven't. So we just certainly appreciate you taking that time to do that. And I wish everybody out there a happy summer weekend. And I can't wait to see you again here next week. Thanks again, Melissa, for coming, and our audience for being with us. And have a remarkable weekend.
Thanks, Sue. Let's do it together.
I got to get one of those necklaces. I need to say